All right, so
Episode.
who knows?
I don't know.
I want to talk about a little bit today what I got started with Strong Fit for, which we mentioned many episodes ago.
Yeah.
Was I got into it simply to learn as a new coach about how to keep my clients from getting hurt. The injury prevention thing was a thing that, having been in a CrossFit gym, I had seen a lot of it, just injuries and people playing around and rehabbing and getting hurt. And
By the way,
I
can we-
came to
yeah.
you so that we
Yeah.
can actually I thought that we had a better way.
Okay, so first of all, we need to define injuries, by the way. Because most people think like I tore my infraspinatus or something like that, I have an injury. All right, so first of all, like in your gym, how many, not even regional level competitor, because you're a CrossFit gym, how many people will finish in the top 500 in your region at the Open?
Zero.
Okay, so most people, I would say it's about like 1%. Let's say 200th in the Open in your region, you probably have 4 or 5 guys, maybe, right, in your gym. And then that means you're very high. To them, injury means my knee swell up, I can't walk or I can't bend or whatever. That's not an injury. For most people, an injury is ow.
Yeah.
Can we agree that that's an injury, first of all?
Yeah.
If every morning you wake up and you're like, fuck me, and it takes you 30 minutes and now you have to do that for all this to start to free, you have an injury.
Yeah.
Nothing popped,
Yeah.
but it's an injury. You have tendinitis, that's an injury. It takes you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get out of bed every morning, not just soreness, because you're so beat up to shit. To me, that counts as an injury, right? And for most regular people, I hate to say regular, but for most people out there, getting into bed or getting out of bed is like, motherfucker, my back and everything. To me, all those counts as injuries.
Yeah.
Right, so that's a very important part, because to most people, injuries means you pop something because you deadlifted too heavy or whatever. Now you're gonna have to do either surgery or not, but you're gonna have to go see the physio, then chiropractor, then massage therapist, and then we started to do all that shit.
And we see it a lot of times with people that we work with who will have have an assessment, and they'll start saying, no, I never really had an injury. And their idea of injury is something that requires
I never had
surgical
surgery.
intervention.
Exactly, because they're all like, I'm fine, and no injuries. And then you start today, and then they're all like that. So like, oh yeah, my neck is always tight on the left, or
Only for
here.
like the last 15
No, but
years.
then I pop it, and then I'm fine for a day, and then it comes back the next day, and I'm like, no, that counts.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that entire aspect, and I think that's a little bit the issue and the way we treat it as coaches is. Again, we're looking at, for whatever, in the fitness industry, we're always driven by athletes, right? So an athlete, if you can move, you're fine.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you use tape when it's bleeding. I think is that Vince Lombardi who said, no, I can't remember which coach he said that, but you put tape on if it's bleeding, basically. No, it's that thing where either you go see a physio or you're training, but there's no in between.
Yeah.
Like, suck it up, don't be a pussy, go back to training. And we think that's training. No, that's competing. That's game time.
Yeah.
Where, you push and everything. But so we have to understand that this is not what we do in most gyms.
And that the average person who is coming from just a trying to get fitter background maybe doesn't need to be treating their 3 times a week workout like it's game time.
But even more than that, if you have a regular person that comes into your gym and does a workout and the next day she goes, ow, what do you think she's thinking? I got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got hurt doing that. That's stupid. I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? Because I know it's amazing for us coaches to think, but they don't give a shit about their max snatch, about their friend time or everything.
Yeah.
What they want is they want to play with the kids on the weekend. They want to get out of bed without being broken. You know what they want? They want a good night's sleep. How much good could we do in this world if we could give people a good night's sleep? I swear we would do a fuck ton of progress for them. Yeah. You want to be a humanist and help mankind, which is my goal in life, make people have a full night's sleep.
I don't think I had a good night's sleep, and I never understood what it was like having sleep apnea. I never figured out what that was like and having a good night's sleep until probably July of this
year, yeah. So you spend
20 years.
20 years.
15, 20
so
years.
now you have
the things up my nose that you see in the morning when I come out. But my...
you've seen the movie Alien?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like. I'm like, oh no, okay, that's not well. Okay, it's okay.
We and no, that's the real deal too. Like people have.
So
you know,
funny thing about that. So you start to do this, you have a real night's sleep. How many hours did you sleep at first?
At first, 3.
3 because it was like.
And I was
so much quality sleep, you didn't know what to do with it.
To the point where I almost thought it was a problem. I was like, fuck, I gotta get rid of this thing. I'm only sleeping 3 hours. And yet,
So we had that with the nutrition stuff where people ended up sleeping 6 hours. Like, I'm up in the morning and I just can't go back to sleep. I don't understand because the quality of sleep was increased and now they could only take 6 hours at a time until they could build back up to 8, just like training, just like everything, just like nutrition, just like everything else. But so how crazy it is that literally 3 hours of quality sleep was more that you could handle.
Yeah.
That tells you how badly you slept.
And when I was training really heavy to get big and strong and eating a ton, like I would sleep for 8 hours a night, and I would still have to take 2 to 2.5 hours of nap in the afternoon.
And still tired.
Yeah, and never ever not.
And then you realize that once you fix the problem.
Yeah.
All right. So that's basically, I think, first the conversation should be for fitness, is how do people sleep well? Do people eat not based on healthy food? It's like correctly for their nervous system, stuff like that, where you could make so much progress just out of giving people a good night's sleep. And I say people, by the way, it means athletes as well, right? But it's a little bit the same view that I have on injuries. Most people are like, no, I can, once I warm up for 45 minutes, I can put my arms overhead. That is a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to define that you do a workout, the next day you fucked up. Something went wrong. We have to start with that. And so a lot of the system when I talk about injury prevention is also, that's what I mean. I mean that I want you to be able to do a snatch workout and not go for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's part of injury. It's not just, hopefully you do enough structural work that you'll never tear your infraspinatus, which obviously I hope as well. Yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about that snatch workout when you just can't fucking move your arm the next morning.
So how do we decompose something like that into, I don't know, like a plan for somebody?
Right.
Know?
So first of all, let's explain let's say let's decompose the types of injuries that you have, right? Because I think that's also where the problem starts. You have the first one where you pop something. Car accident, snatch, whatever it is, shoulder is gone, right? All right, so trauma.
Boom. Yep.
So that means maybe surgery. No matter what, physio, right? So the physio is going to do, that's what they're great at, right? They're going to look at the structural damage. Maybe that was fixed with surgery, and now they're going to start to work at, rotator cuff. Basically, they're going to work around the joint to make sure the joint can move, right? So now you're off that 6 weeks of physio. And this is where technically you're not injured anymore. And this is where I disagree. Since this is still a problem, to me, you are still injured. The problem is now we have that side of it, which is physio, chiros, that allow you to have movement of the joint. And then you have training, which is performance-based. Performance not making the games. Performance is getting better. You had a 90-kilo snatch. You just had surgery. You're going to start with the empty barbell. The idea is I'm going to do the empty barbell up until I go back to 90 kilo and then I'm going to relearn the movement and stuff like that. But now there's a gap in between where the joint can move because all the small muscles have been worked, but all the large muscles have atrophied, which means the entire structure of the movement is basically deconditioned. And the only way to go back to working on this is to do the movement that injured you in the first place, which is the snatch. Right, so without taking two things into account. The first is why it happened in the first place. If it's a car accident, shit happened. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about that, right? But what if it's something that happens through a repetitive stress? Like you were doing the snatching correctly again and again and again and again. What does doing the snatching correctly means? It means engaging the wrong muscles over time. It's a Polishnikov who was saying that the good technique is hypertrophy of the right muscles. Right? So bad technique is hypertrophy of the wrong muscles. Right? You're using the wrong muscle repeatedly. That leads to stress on the joint. Eventually, infraspinatus pops. So when you go back to snatching, you're going to have to make sure that you don't do the same shit again. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the same place. Einstein definition of insanity.
Which I would see it all the time. People come back from physio,
go right back in the same movement.
They're so excited that they can get back to deadlifting or snatching again.
And then they do it exactly the same way. So now basically the coach is going to tell them, move your elbow this way, but they're going to give them a position to change the technique, but not a tension. What we need at that stage basically is to be able to build the right muscles in order to get to a stage where we can do that 90-kilo snatch without getting hurt, right? And that's where there's some gray area. Right? For most people, snatching alone will give them the right muscle to snatch. And that's where I start, like, there's no fucking way. I disagree. You know why? Because your body doesn't care that you're snatching. Evolution doesn't give a shit about CrossFit, right? He wants certain muscle into certain places. And so for the snatch, as an example, this is where the conversation about internal torque came in. I was like, guys, all you're saying with external torque is that we need have you noticed that the way to get better on the snatch is always retraction of the shoulder blade, working your rhomboid, working your traps and everything, but it's never a large muscle group conversation. It's always a small one. I was like, but small muscle, like how strong do your rhomboid have to be to do a 90-kilo snatch? If it was just those muscle, that'd be a lot of stress on them, right? So to me, there was always an entire structure of the body that had to be taken into account to lead you to basically get good, either go back to the snatch or get stronger, right? So that was really the point of Strong Fit, was like, okay, how do we fill that gap between end of physio and back to performance training, right? Because if you go right back to 5 sets of 5 with weight, you're just going to destroy your shoulder. And that's what you see a lot, right? Physio, back to training.
They just ping pong back
and then
and
ping pong back there. And then, so they feel better because they haven't snatched in 6 weeks. So they do physio, they do all the work. The joint is stronger, but the large muscle group, the structure of your body isn't. So you go right back into it. And then you have those feedback loop that can last 5 years until eventually you pop the infraspinatus. And then now it's worse. And then we go worse and worse and worse and worse.
And the thing that, and we're talking about it like it's like an injury like that, especially that cycle, like that is something that happens in a vacuum outside of the rest of somebody's life. And I think people are missing like how important some of that stuff is to people, for one, whether it's rational or not, but like that getting back to being able to train after being hurt and starting to feel good is like a breath of fresh air for people.
And by the way,
to have not given them what they need to do to actually continue it, and then that I've seen it before, that moment where someone's come back, they've been doing good, and then it's back.
Ow.
And they and you can see it in their face. They're
and you know
like,
what we forget
"Motherfucker."
is that they can't play with their kids anymore. They can't, because that's who you have in your gym. Like, I can't go dancing on Saturday. I can't go on a trip with my girlfriend. I can't play with my kids. I'm shitty with my husband because I'm on painkillers all the time and I'm in constant pain and I can't train, so now I'm crazy. So you're doing more than just messing up the shoulder. This can have like wide-ranging consequences.
And I mean,
right?
and if the pain only hurt when you deadlifted 400 kilos, then don't fucking deadlift 400 kilos. The problem is the pain that some of these people are feeling in those injuries are 24 hours a day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not the same as, oh, my knee hurts when I'm over.
Yeah, if your shit hurts when you snatch and you never snatched again, and that was the only fix, like that seems like a pretty easy solution.
Who cares?
But
toss the sandbag, it's fine.
Yeah.
But there's, exactly. The problem is, to most people, injury means like they tweak their, how many times do you hear they tweak their back on a deadlift, and now it's basically they feel their back 24/7.
Yeah.
Feeling their back 24/7, we're going back to you never knowing what it's like to have a full night's sleep. If you feel your back 24/7, after 6 months, you don't even know what it's like to live without it.
Yeah.
And so now you want to realize how much it affects your everyday life and stuff like that until it's taking away. Then you see people literally started crying. I've had it in front of me many times because they were like, is that how it feels? Like there's a freedom with not being in pain constantly.
Yeah.
So at 24/7, or you're like, yeah, whatever, that to me counts as an injury. And so Strong Fit was designed for that. It wasn't so much like we're going to do rehab better than physios, because physio do what they do very well. When it comes to joint, I was like, yeah, what I want me is to build a body so it's ready to go into a more intense phase, which is life, really, right? And making sure that you can snatch and everything, but then you can also play with the kids on the weekend.
And how to build your body from a repaired state to a state in which it can do exercise that maybe isn't a natural movement with, you know what I mean? Something
so you can have a life, right? So you can play soccer with the kids. Like how many times did you hear people that got hurt playing soccer on the weekend? Yeah. Like how many, even in CrossFit, like people say, when did you get hurt? Oh, I played tennis, I played soccer, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, but that tells me we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If you're good at CrossFit, even decent, but you can't go play soccer on the weekend because you can't run without tweaking your knee and your ankle, then we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Then CrossFit is not fulfilling its promise, which is we're going to make you fit at anything.
And that's a piece people always miss about CrossFit. There's a lot of people I see with time, they start to CrossFit just to do CrossFit.
So they turn it into a sport, which is fine. You want to compete, have fun. I have no problem with that. But the original point of CrossFit was fitness, was health, not
enough,
as a sport.
Be fit enough to go
to do
play.
anything. By the way, remember when I think it's in a pyramid that they have, or Greg Glassman that say, go do sports.
Try new sports, yeah.
That was the point, is that you're fit enough to go do shit. if we miss that part, then we miss what health is. We miss like having an actual life and everything. CrossFit is not who you are, it's what you do. So you have to understand whether you do it for competition, which is great. But if you do it to be fit and everything, then it should apply to everything else. And it cannot apply if workouts make you go, ow, ow, constantly. So understand wanting the performance aspect and getting the PRs. God knows it's addicting more than anything else in the world, right? And all that stuff. But we have to also understand what is it that is necessary for the human body. Too many people go, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's what what I see in a lot of assessment is people that are like this or they're back or whatever. No, I'm good. I lift weight. That's what happens when you lift weight. I'm like, and that's really from the beginning where I was like, no, we're going back to evolution being to me the greatest thing. If you want to worship something, worship evolution because it has to be the most mind-boggling, smart thing ever, right? Not mine, it is. The thing he has been able to do is incredible. So the body should be able to train at that level without you getting beat up. So the next day going like, oh, that was a great workout. Yeah, for sure, it's fun. God knows, like I feel my traps like crazy today. So it's all good, but not like, I mean, there's a difference between I'm sore as shit, I did jiu-jitsu, I'm beat up like oh my God, and ow, right? No, it's not normal. You can push your body and not be broken like that. That's not normal. And my biggest problem is we think it is. Most of it, and I was like that too, right? In 20s or even my 30s, it was like, yeah, of course my back hurts. I deadlifted over 500 pounds. Of course, my 230 kilo, my back is gonna hurt. I had basically back issues. That's why I came up with internal torque. I had back issues for 15 years. Every single week I would deadlift, right? Usually for over 500, and then for 1 week, this would pinch. It'd be like, not even like, oh, I can't move. It's just like,
just something.
Like I would do this, like the twerking, and I'm like, I feel it. Yeah. Not that I would twerk, but you get the idea. I can twerk, by the way. Yes, I can twerk very well. Thank you. I'm very in certain nightclub. It works very well. I love black women. What can I say? But it was constant. Like you're in the car, and after an hour, I was like, oh, I gotta get up. I can't. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And I thought it was just like you with sleep. I was like, yeah, that's what happens when you lift. I'm here to tell you, no, it's not. Because once I figured out internal torque, I would back to over to 550 deadlift and no pain in my back. And that's what I understand why people do it because I did it. That's why I know exactly what it's like. But when the light bulb went up into my head, when I was like, wait, I can actually deadlift without my back pinching. Such a strange idea. It's like you had no idea what it felt like to have a good night's sleep. Me, I had no idea what it was like to deadlift without my back cramping or like getting me some spasm or shit like that. And I was like, So we take those things as a normalcy where we should never do it. The problem is if you think it's normal, then you're not going to fix it. Right? If it's completely normal to always feel your shoulder when you snatch, then you're never going to look to fix it. Or at least you're never going to take it seriously enough to actually make a conscious effort toward fixing it. And that's where a lot of the problem comes from, is that, yeah, whatever. My coach said,
Can we walk through, let's just say give me like a figurative case study. Like, so let's pretend me. I hurt my shoulder snatching 130 kilos.
You wish.
I have.
You did? Oh, good for you.
290?
There you go.
Like that.
Yeah.
Used to be good at that. And then, but this is all figurative still, but I could do that once. But
you have the video, is it on Facebook?
I think so, it's on Instagram.
Okay.
But
then.
the shoulder hurts, right? And so I go to physio, I get back, I start to get strong enough, I get hurt at 120 kilos again. Fuck.
Yeah.
And I go back, and let's remove all of the possibilities that it depends on whatever. Let's just project whatever deficiencies and things you think that I may have.
Yeah.
Right?
So first of all, let's establish that you got hurt at 130 kilos. Okay. Was it an accident, or was it basically the accumulation of stress into the whatever got hurt, basically by improper movement pattern?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's option B, is you didn't get hurt that day. You've been getting hurt for 8 months. You just basically blocked it out because you really wanted that 130 kilo snatch. So you're like, I'm fine. I'm just going to warm up a little bit longer, maybe take some ibuprofen, and I'm cool, right? So to say that you got injured that day is part of the problem, right? Because when people say that, they don't acknowledge where the problem started, which means I remember that one snatch at 100 kilos and I felt my shoulder. That's when it happened. That day, the improper movement pattern happened. Maybe that there was an accident and then everything started, but maybe already something was being established that at that weight, certain things will not engage properly, and the problem started then.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to start, right?
Okay.
And okay, so let's assume it's improper movement pattern. You just didn't get unlucky. A lot of time it's improper movement pattern. All right, so I mean, basically what got you is the weight, right? At 80 kilo you were fine, but 100 it starts to hurt. All right, that means that structurally speaking, your body cannot handle that weight. It can handle 90 kilo, but at 100 it starts to hurt. All right, that means that the structure is giving up. All right, so that's something that from the beginning at StrongFit I use, which is called the S pyramid, right? So it's something I talk about a lot in the seminar, so they'll see it from that video, right? Is that, so first of all, why do I use the pyramid as an example? Because what I love about the figure is that the wider the base, the higher the pyramid. So that was a very important idea, is to establish at first of all the structure, right? The S pyramid, that's why it's called the S pyramid from structure, was going to be what I need to work on first and what has to be the strongest possible so that I can pile everything else on top, right? So S was for structure, which is the bottom of it. So now we need to establish what is the structure for the snatch, right? And then that's where people usually go with the traps. And all that stuff. Now, I'm not talking about catching and everything. Obviously, the legs will do. The core is always part of it. But I'm like, okay, but now let's start to be specific, right? What is it exactly that we need to stabilize the weight overhead? So do you want to start from the bottom or from the top?
Let's go bottom up.
Bottom up, right? So we talk about the core. Like, okay, is that the six-pack, right? If I engage the six-pack, like the four-pack right here, and I push very hard, I have that arch in my back. Is that, do I want to load the lumbar erectors to stabilize, or do I want to go toward the external obliques? And
Well, I know the way I did it.
yes, exactly, right? Which went
Yep.
all here,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so if you go toward the lumbar erectors, then you're going to go toward external torque. We have to understand that the body is not a Chinese menu. You don't get to pick and choose what you're going to put in it. It's either it's an internal torque or it's external torque, right? Those are called the torque chains. It's a very important part of the StrongFit system. That means the second you want to load your lumbar erectors to catch the weight, everything else is going to follow. So now you have the outside quads, you have the upper trap, you have the long head of the bicep, and you have basically that movement which creates external torque like this. So it's latissimus dorsi, trap, and long head of the bicep. And then that's how you're going to catch. And that happens to put your shoulder into a very, very vulnerable position to press. Now, when you catch a weight, you're not pulling on it, you're pressing on it, right? So creating not so much external rotation of the shoulder, that's meaningless. Because I don't care how the shoulder is positioned, external rotation is actually cool.
Tension.
It's the tension that you create by loading your lumbar erectors makes the tension go toward the external torque, which is certain muscles that are not supposed to catch the weight. Right? And that's where the problem would start. So even at the core level, that means I'm going to have to have those external obliques transverse actually catching the weight there, because then in a way it can put me tension-wise in a hollow position, not position-wise, because I'm not going to ask you to catch like this, but the tension is toward that internal torque, right? Because that's the one who's going to allow you to stabilize better. Like you'll notice whenever you catch with lumbar erectors, you have a tendency to press the weight. The reason you're pressing the weight is because that's a pure concentric thing. The stabilization, that isometric force, is much better done in internal torque than it is in external torque. External torque, those are muscles that are there to just explode.
It's an explosion.
So if you want to catch external torque, you're going to press against the bar as hard as you can, because that's what you're going to go full concentric. But that's not a stabilization movement. So to catch a weight is not interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting for that triple extension. That last part of the triple extension, that third pull, that's where you want external torque, because that's the one where it's pure concentric and it's going to make the thing fly in the air. To catch it, you're going to need that internal torque, because you're going to need stabilization. You're going to need to catch the weight. Let's say that's where your shoulder got hurt, right, for this. So that means internal torque. What do I need as a structure? I'm going to need the short head of the bicep, right? The pec, basically the sternocostal part of the pec in that sense. Activating everybody here, just like a always position in gymnastic. How do you know? Just push forward.
Yeah.
Bend the pec stick, take a PVC pipe overhead and just bend it. You'll see something very interesting when you have a PVC pipe and you bend it, and you'll see an external rotation of the shoulder, but you'll see right away the pec engaging. So the pec engages, but it makes you externally rotate the shoulder, which is weird because in anatomy, tell you it can't happen. Take a pec stick, bend it. You'll see right away external rotation of the humerus, but yet the pec engages, right? So I take a pec stick and I don't break it, I bend it. So don't bend it with the wrist, bend the thing. And then you'll see that adduction right there. And then basically you're gonna engage the pec, the short head of the bicep, and that's gonna give you the best holding strength, whatever stabilization possible to catch the weight. And then from here, you're gonna go to your external obliques, VMO, the groin and everything. That's what you see people, they're not collapsing in, they're going toward internal torque to catch the weight properly.
So when we talk about building this structure, everything you just described, if I have what you call just a movement bias in the way that I've been doing this lift and doing just everything in external torque.
That's what you do, right? You do everything external torque,
the way I do it is everything the opposite of the way it's supposed to be. And so there's going to be huge deficiencies.
Exactly. So let's say you've
I've been developing, like we said, hypertrophy in the wrong muscles.
In the wrong muscles, right? So you've done everything external torque. That means your internal torque is not working. So up to 90 kilo, you can press it out. You can basically hold concentric, but there's a moment, there's a certain weight where suddenly those muscles can't do it anymore, and now I need to stabilize the weight. Fortunately, you don't have the necessary muscle in your structure to do that. And that's when starts to happen. Basically, is your joint is supposed to stay there, but now you're gonna keep getting crank more external torque. At some point, the joint is gonna go too far because there's nothing to keep the balance going. So trying the external rotation is going to go too far because internal torque cannot keep the shoulder from rotating, and now you have a problem, right? Because the difference between rotation and torque always. So you're not able to basically keep the tension where it should be. All right, so now how do we fix that, right? So that means I'm going to need a movement structural that allows me to develop, for example, in your case, short head of bicep, the pec, external obliques and everything. So I can, there's two ways to go at this. First of all, if the issue is that big, I can start to go more toward isolation movement, right? So how would I engage the short head of the bicep and the pec? Is it enough to do curls? No, because I want curls to engage with the pec. So I need to teach both of them how to work together.
But we can also do curls, I want to clarify.
I mean, always, let's be honest, right? I'm not saying curls are bad. I'm saying do curls and then do more curls by engaging the pecs, right? And that's why we came up with a pec stick idea, right? Because the pec stick, when you bend it like this, you get a tremendous contraction of the bicep and the pecs. So that was just a way, using the pec stick was just a way for you to work all the right muscle as a unit because you didn't know how to do it. You could do the pecs, you could do the bicep, but if I ask all of it to work together, you had no idea how to get that skill going, right? So I can use, for example, a pec stick at least to, maybe not to build you strong enough, but it will allow me at first to get a coordination going, a skill, some kind of an activation in internal torque so you can actually feel what it's like.
And I think it's important to note that obviously, let's say I have a deficiency in the inside head of my bicep and my pec and my external obliques, and so, or internal, whatever. And so, anyway, so we're sitting there, and it's important probably still that I can do this in isolation. Right?
Yeah, no, it is the biggest.
But getting the whole chain together, for me especially, when I started working on these things, became a very interesting feeling that I've never felt when lifting before. And this is a thing that I see with people often. When you start to fail doing almost any other lift or any other exercise, what happens? You just kind of gas out and fail.
Yeah.
You know what happens when I try to do all three things at one time? Once I start to fatigue, I fucking start shaking.
And everything, yeah.
And it's like nothing I've ever felt before. And it's like, the way I explain it to myself is it's like my fucking brain is just firing some patterns that it has not used before.
But, okay, so first of all, can I make you do that on a high skill movement like the snatch?
Certainly
no.
not.
So I'm going to have to lessen way the fuck down on the skill of the movement so you can actually start there and let your brain and your body get comfortable with how does that feel?
Yeah, and because at that point it's not about the exercise.
It's about getting there first.
It's about getting the tension and coordinating the three things. And it seems so simple, but takes an amount of focus that's fucking...
Yes, exactly. And so that's why we lower the skill first, right? Because I can't ask you, even with a pec stick, you'll have a problem. So imagine with a barbell, right? And then the second part you get with most people is like, I can't feel my bicep, I can't feel my pecs, I can't feel my glutes or whatever. So I'm like, all right, so we're going to need to start there. So that's why I use the pec stick so much, because I'm like, it's simple. Take a pec stick, bend it, put a kettlebell under it, and go walk for 200 meters. By the time you come back, this and this and this will be on fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, do you see how that feels? Yeah, that's what I want. So at least it allows you to go, oh, and it has to be bad enough that you actually feel it.
Yeah.
Because at first you're there like, I'm fine, and by the end you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's like, do you feel that? No, do it again. But eventually you're gonna go like, oh, I'm like that. And then we can start on creating that, so I need the connection first. I can't build a muscle if you can't even find it.
Yeah.
So I'll start as far back as I need. If I need this with a pec stick until you have the connection, short hair of the bicep and pec. All right, and then external obliques, and then VMO, and then groin, and then in head of the hammies. Like, do you feel all of them working? Yes, cool. From them, I can move up to an exercise that challenges you even more. So it can be either skill or weight, right? But I'm going to work my way there so I can finally introduce an exercise like the snatch, which is both skill and weight.
Yeah.
So to get there, I need to get there. That means I'm going to have to start wherever you are and get your ego out of it,
But
start there.
But I want to be able to snatch that
Exactly.
again.
Today,
Right?
or maybe tomorrow, but that's maximum tomorrow. Let's say 48 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of work. Was like, all right, so let's take where you are and let's build from there. Right? It sounds very simple when I say it like that, and yet that was most of the problem. Is like people ask me for help all the time, and they ask me what to do, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you that. But what they want really is they want me to tell them to do something that they like to do, right? There's always.
Yeah.
The biggest problem that I have is people listen to my words, but they don't listen to the intent behind them. They never match my intent to my words. What they're doing is they're matching their intent to my words. Or they're matching my words to their intent in that case. It's like, this is what I want to do, this is what he said. I'm going to make his words fit what I want. So you're making my words fit your intent. It's never going to work. You have to understand, screw the words, you have to understand what my intent is. I want you to be wherever you are on the pyramid and say, okay, we need to work that. Because this is where you are. It's not up to me. If it was up to me, I would do it like this and take your injury away.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have that power yet. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet.
I thought I was the one. I have the Thanos one. Mine's the snap of
By
the
the way,
finger, dude.
who wins?
This is.
Let's put that in the
All right,
comments.
hold
Who
on.
wins between Son Goku Super Ultra Instinct versus Thanos?
And I'm gonna need you guys who have done more than just watch this movie.
Yes,
Because that's
you
all
need to,
I've done. I
From
need
comic
somebody
books.
to defend
Yeah, exactly.
me.
From comic books. I'm saying anyway. So there's gonna where you are will decide what we need to work on. Are we at a stage where we need to work on activation? Right. So you're off the physio, right, which makes the joint move better. Okay. Now I need to get the muscles to pack on top of the joint, right? For internal torque, you just finished all the rotator cuff, very necessary, all that stuff. But now you need to actually move.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just make the joint go up and down. I need you to actually now starting the rebuilding process. That means muscle. It means large muscle groups, right? So I can start with activation, pec stick, get all this to actually so you know where it is. All right, so now you have an understanding what internal torque feels like, not through words, but to actually doing it. And you can engage those muscles. You have the skill now, you can get all three, and you're like, okay, I can push that. Fine. So now we can move up either in weight or in skill. All right, so I need to make you stabilize something overhead using internal torque, right? So if I let you do it your way, you're going to ride back to external torque, because that's what you know. All right, so I need to introduce a movement to make sure that you learn to engage the pec in an overhead position. So we have different ways of doing that. First, we're going to have to test the mobility to see if you can actually engage your pec overhead. If you cannot, we have to work on that mobility. I didn't say flexibility, I didn't say range of motion of your shoulder, because that's not what I'm talking about here. Not the range of motion of the shoulder. I'm talking about how far can your pec stay engaged when you put your arms overhead. Is it here? If it's here, the snatch is going to be an issue. Right away, that means you're going to have to go to external torque. So can you engage your pec all the way up?
Do you remember? The funny thing is this story. I never hurt my shoulder snatching. By the way, never did.
His back is something else.
My
But yeah.
back's different story. But the what is interesting is when I met you when we first did the seminar, Coaches Week, I remember we did that actual test where we sat, we tried to engage the pec and see how far we could get overhead. And now this is miles better than it was then. But then it's not a joke, guys. I put my hands in front of my fucking nipples and I couldn't get them to my chin without opening up.
Yeah.
And I was snatching a ton of fucking weight.
Yep.
that way and pressing a ton of weight. And I had
And what you did right away, you did this.
I would go, and Julian kept saying, "That's why your traps are so big." And I was
Yeah.
like, "But I thought it was awesome having big traps."
It is, but not in that sense, right? And
But
I was
not
like,
if
just
they're the
press my
only
hands.
thing doing anything.
Exactly. I'd big traps, all for it, but they have
But
to
you
be.
shouldn't be pressing with
They
them.
exactly. They're supposed to support
Yeah.
the pressing motion, not actually do it.
Doing it.
Doing it, right?
And so for me that was extremely eye-opening, because the way we had talked about it conceptually, I was like, oh, that makes a ton of fucking sense.
Wow, I keep hurting
And,
myself.
well, no, just like from a movement standpoint, it made sense to me. And so when I got to doing it, I was like, man, I really hoped I would be better at this. And so,
Famous last words,
but now
but yeah.
that's the nice thing for me, is having that context when I explain to people that you are where you are, and we're going to just start taking steps. It's like, listen, I can get to here. It's not awesome now, but I can get there. But before, like, we're talking this, can barely give myself.
But that's the thing too, is I don't want to be the asshole, except what you want me to tell you. This is where you are. This is also a big part of the conversation. This is what you have the trust of your athletes and everything. Is nobody wants to truly hear why there's a problem, because then usually that means like you have to delay your goal and stuff like that. But it should be, at least it should be part of the job of your coach to have a conversation with you as to exactly where you are is where you are in relation to your goals. Like, I see people that like keep getting hurt on the snatch, and I'm like, but you came to me so you could play with the kids.
Yeah.
That was that's our deal. The deal was I was going to fix your shoulder so you can go play with the kids. And now you're back to trying to get a PR on the snatch. I was like, and I don't mind you getting a PR on the snatch, but can you at least give me the time to fix it? Usually that problem comes from someone refusing to acknowledge exactly where they are on the pyramid. Right? And that's why I gave the pyramid, so that I wouldn't be the asshole telling you suck. I'm just asking you to get better, which worked a lot. So to go back to a concrete example like you are, I'm done with the pec stick. I'm done. I'm going to keep doing it, but now I can move up. Like, for example, I would need a movement to teach you to engage the pecs overhead. That's where the overhead carry, yoke carry could come in, right? Either a barbell, one arm, or a yoke with two arms. Why? Because the yoke is moving so much at the base. It makes you stabilize in the frontal plane. That's going to force you to engage your pec to stabilize. If you go like this, you lose it backwards right away. Because you can't stabilize with your traps. You can only press. To stabilize, you're going to need the pecs and the teres major.
That overhead yoke, even just as a hold, is a thing
It's so much harder than it looks.
when I see people that tend to shrug in their overhead position a lot,
they're here.
as soon as I put them underneath a yoke with an overhead hold, even moderately heavy, you can tell that they get spit out right away.
Because the trap can only contract violently. That's what it does. It does this. It's external torque. So
And then
they
off
go
it
here,
goes.
but then a second later, the trap it can only go full concentric. So now it doesn't have a hold pattern really. Like, even if you stay like this, you're going to start coming down, because that's not, the upper trap doesn't do that. So it's here, and then it's going to come down, and the second it comes down, you don't have the pec, because you're an external torque, and then it goes right back behind you, right? So that could be a way. Don't get a yoke that is too heavy for you, obviously. But now it's a next progression into, okay, now we can start to introduce a little bit more skill, right? Because that's overhead where I want to be, and engaging the pec for stabilization.
So when we talk about that, is that
Still
what falls in here?
No, we're still in the
Okay,
structural
we're
work
still
for me.
building structure here.
Yeah, because the weight is directly on the structure and stuff like that. And from there, basically,
We're still dealing with the large muscle.
you're still dealing with a large muscle, in that case, the pec and the short head of the bicep, right? That's really what I'm shooting for here. And external obliques. You'll have a lot of people at first because their mobility is bad here, and then they don't have anything here, so they overarch, and so I feel my back. So then I'll stay with that weight until, again, you are where you are. I'll stay at a weight where this is where your form is okay. So if I up the weight, I up the waist, and suddenly I'm putting more tension on certain muscle, I cannot handle past a certain amount. If I go past a certain amount, this is where the arching of the back comes in. This is where the external torque come back in, because what it means is that your internal torque gave up.
And it's a demanding enough.
Fuck yeah.
It's just very demanding as it is, to where I've seen people who are very strong, that whatever their weak link is just really eye-opening to them once they get into that.
Hopefully it's eye-opening and not just pissing them off. Yes.
Yeah, and so I've seen I have a friend who's a really strong power lifter and strongman competitor, and he was like, I tried one of them overhead.
Is that
yoke
the one
curls.
who's taking your wife out on dates?
No, that's
since
a different
you've been
one.
in Europe.
That-
Okay, so
that's
you
a
have another
different
guy.
one.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
a different one. I'm watching you. So.
We know who you are.
But but this guy said, he was like, yeah, I tried that when you were talking about it, and he was like, I never felt tension
Exactly.
here, like
Right.
in his obliques. He said, I've never
So
felt that.
if you put too much weight, those will give up because there's only so much tension they can take.
Yeah.
And then you'll go back to your lower back. That's why
Yeah.
people say, I feel my back. I'm like, yeah, because maybe it's too heavy
just went
or
too
you're
too
just
far.
not there yet, right?
Yeah.
So the problem with people is like, but I did the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're going back to not matching words and intent. You look at an exercise as a word. Put a yoke overhead carry. That's not me. I look at it with the intent of internal torque, tension where I want the tension to be. If you don't put the tension where I want the tension to be, you are not doing the exercise that I want. You're doing another exercise.
Yeah.
That's a different word.
Yeah.
Right? You have to match intent and words. It is not enough to say I did your program. No, you did not, because you did not find the tension I was asking for. The problem is now I'm asking you to do real work, not just carry the shit over there in a mindless drone. I'm asking you to find tension in the right places that might be very hard for you to do. And that's where clash number 2 happens. After the ego is crushed, clash number 2 is I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you how to do it. I'm asking you to find tension in the right places. That's another level of complication that you're adding now.
And I think that's a really important point. I think I've mentioned it before, how you can do the exercises and you can be doing totally the wrong thing.
Yeah. And so people tell me, but I did what you asked. No, you didn't.
That's what I did. I used the tools and the exercise you had talked about for 6-7 months before I ever came and learned from you. And what I was doing was sandbag squats, completely upright, almost
Super
like
arched,
super arched. And because I thought it was a good big chest upright position, I was doing sandbag carries completely on my lumbar and on my
so did I
diaphragm.
at first, yep.
Yeah. And then I would do rope pulls. I was like, oh, I heard rope pulls are great.
Yes,
and
they are.
what I would do is I would do rope pulls like strongman would do rope pulls. If I'm pulling a truck for 20 meters, I'm just fucking going.
No,
And
plus,
it's all
and you see a lot of people doing
Yeah.
this, and I'm like, I'm not asking you to do a triple extension. You already do Olympic weightlifting. What I want is a very specific thing. But again, for me, it wasn't the rope pull is the greatest exercise for teres major and the pec and internal torque. It's not pulling a rope that is the greatest exercise. It's pulling the rope this way that makes you engage internal torque in the best possible way that I know. But if you're doing it for the internal torque, if you're just pulling on the rope, it doesn't do shit.
Exactly. And so I basically took all of the movements that we have been talking about and did them wrong up until then. So I actually made the problem even
But that's
worse.
the conversation of causality versus finality that I
Yeah.
always want to have about intent. I'm like, guys, it doesn't matter. You have to stop looking at causality, which is words, right? Or we're just as a word, like it implies, as an exercise, like it implies that's my solution. The solution is not that exercise. The solution is how you do the exercise. And I cannot stress this enough. Too many people tell me, I did your template. I'm like, no, you didn't. Because first of all, again, going back to the Chinese menu, you're choosing wherever you want. Out of that template, like, oh, I can do that exercise. So if I say a max 20 meters, 30 meters overhead yoke carry, and you're doing a 30-minute imam, guess what? You're not doing what I ask. Because you went too light, you probably can say an external torque because it's light enough that it doesn't challenge certain muscle, and because you're pushing to fatigue, you're still shutting yourself off from the feeling, the tension I want you to create.
Yeah.
At some point, I need you to learn the skill of tension, of creating tension at will, right?
Which I think that takes a level
It's
of
called mastery.
exactly. And it takes a level of awareness that maybe most people don't get into fitness expecting to have asked them. We kind of get in thinking we're going to just be able to turn our brains off and
Yes.
light ourselves on fire.
But if you want to fix something like, you know what, I play a lot of pool lately. I've started to do tournaments again and everything because now my mind is, I don't think I'm quite as good skill-wise as I used to be, but my mind is so much stronger. I'm actually doing better now. And yesterday I spent 2.5 hours just practicing center ball. So literally, like you have the cue ball, I'm hitting in the center and I'm looking at the angle deflection of hitting the object ball at a certain distance, at a certain angle to see what happens if I hit softer, harder, that angle, that far. And so I'm basically trying to do the most simple shot there is very well. You want one of the hardest things to do on a pool table? You line up the pocket, the object ball, and the cue ball. Pocket the object ball and make the cue ball go in the pocket as well, both of them in the same pocket. And then you go further and further and further and further. It looks like boring and it's the hardest thing to do consistently.
Yeah.
Right? You want to master something, that's how you do it. Can you do the simple stuff very well? Right? So can you do an overhead yoke carry and find the tension in the right places? And if you say yeah, most likely you're lying to yourself. Because you're going to put more weight, and I do that too, by the way. You get caught up in the weight, you get caught up in words, and you forget intent. You forget. How many of us forgot why we started training in the first place? I did that so many times. I fucked myself up with MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, and strongman like that. I got to a fairly high level, and I forgot my intent, which was for myself, first of all, right? And then it became about competing against the other guys. And every single time I lost my love for the sport by doing that, because it became about the other guys, but not the original intent, which was to learn about myself. I did that so many times. So the whole intent conversation is much, much deeper than people think. It is very hard to forget why you did it in the first place. So now you're snatching, but if I ask you why, I don't get a very good answer very often.
Just becomes compulsion.
I like it.
Becomes compulsion sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, because I like it. I'm like, yeah. But so what do you need to get a PR then? Why don't you snatch for the beauty of it and stay at 80%? What do you need to get? No, because I want a PR. I'm like, okay, but so, yeah. And then before you know it, the PR comes at the expense of your shoulder, but you're willing to sacrifice your shoulder to get the PR on the snatch, even though you have 3 kids and you work 80 hours a week and you only train twice. Those are insane conversations, right? You've lost your intent somewhere, and that always lead to problems, right? So to go back again, to stay with the practical, because I have a tendency to always go sideways. Now I'm basically starting to put weight on the yoke and allowing you to carry 20 meters. So now I'm like, okay, so can I put some weight overhead that equals your snatch? Because basically that was kind of my rule with this, was like, whatever you can carry for 20 meters, you can snatch. But until you've learned to stabilize the weight, I'm not going to let you put it overhead because you're not ready. And so we had a lot of exercises like that allow us to know when the person was ready to start snatching again. So that was Ali Ludwig, who's now the national champion, 90 kilo. It's a brick house of a woman, right? She comes to me and she can't feel her 2 fingers, 3 fingers here when she snatches on the left hand. She's hook gripping, she can't feel anything. This is that bad, right? So we started to look, and upper body was not as muscular as it should be. She was massive, strong legs, right? But you could tell she was getting super stressed out because of this. So starting to hold water, full sympathetic reaction, but in a bad way. And I could tell this was collapsing on the left, right? So we did a lot of shoulder head of the bicep, rebuilding the pec, all exercise, rope pull twice a week, harness, internal torque, and did not let her snatch for, I think it was 9 weeks, right? She came back to after 9 weeks, she was like, can I snatch? I'm like, because now she started to kill the overhead yoke carry. She's doing better on the yoke carry. She's doing better everywhere. I'm like, okay, try again. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, go try. She does 40 kilo first session. She's like, oh my God. Second session, 2 days after, she did 87 kilos. Her max was 95 at the time, 96. So she was 90% of her max snatch after not touching a barbell, because she was not allowed to touch a barbell, no squat, no nothing, for 9 weeks. But why? Because I rebuilt the structure. And now her body was able to handle the weight. And of course, no pain anywhere. And now she's snatching 108 or whatever the fuck she's doing, which is amazing. Yeah, that is one strong woman, right? And so, but all I did basically was to give her a body capable of handling the pressure she was putting it through. But the main aspect with this too is you have to, so if we're going to talk pure performance like an athlete, most of them look at the structural work like stuff that has to be done on the side to make sure you don't get hurt. So they kind of dismiss it, right? So it happens first 2 weeks, they do it after they're snatching. Oh, I do my lats, I do this, I do rope pull and everything. And then because they look at it a certain way, now they're 4 weeks in and they go like, yeah, right, I forgot to do it today, but I was busy, but I'll do it tomorrow. And then now it's 6 weeks in and it's like, I don't have to do it twice a week anymore. Once a week is enough. And before you know it, 2 months later, it's on the back burner and they're putting no energy into it, and then we're back to the problem.
Do you think it's because the skill level is so low on something like that maybe getting out of practice on it is not so noticed so immediately?
No,
like if you were practicing the snatch and you took 3 weeks, 4 weeks off of snatching, like yeah, you're going to be a little rusty from a skill standpoint.
Yeah, and it's no, but it's you lost the intent. You forgot that you got cocky with your own body. Like you're like, what matters to you and always will is the snatch. So you need to get back to snatching because that's what you like to do, right? And then the problem is you are not being truthful with yourself as to how much that particular exercise is beating you up and how much of we're always optimistic as to how well our body can handle stress.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit too much, right? And these human beings, unless he hurts, you're like, I can probably game it. He hurts a little bit, I can probably game it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Maybe I can get another week because I really like, I was on such a roll. My training is going so
that
well
in.
right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I got to get that 1 kilo. Like, just let me get that and
then we'll work
famous
on it.
last words. And nothing, you're going to do more of it. We have a guy right now, he's on the mentoring program, Andrew. He just got signed for the Pro League in England. Good for you, dude. He came to us last year, was just like, let me just fix my shoulder so I can finish the season and not be crippled for life. Okay.
We'll start there.
We start there, right? So fix the shoulder. He's one of Richard Pryor client. Everything is great. So he's like, I'm going to do another year of sevens because I feel so good. Oh, okay. So he does this year, and then now he just told us, like, it's the best I've ever felt. So I just signed for the Pro League. 15th. I'm like, yeah, okay. That's not what you said 2 years ago, but okay, fine. But at least he took the time to go, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm crippled right now. I need to build it back. And he put the work
does
in,
the
right?
work.
He does the work. So what he does the most of is that structural work. Why? Because he doesn't want to go back there. Mm-hmm. What you see with, but he's also, as a kid, is on the older side, so he knows what it's like to get fucked up. Yeah. What you see with a lot of, maybe probably the younger athletes is like, no, I'm fine. And don't get me wrong, as an athlete, you need to have the mentality of I can go through a brick wall.
Yeah.
The job of the coach is to stop you an inch before it. Right? So I can't really ask. Some will do, but I can't. Usually, it's very hard to ask athletes to have a truthful understanding of where they are because you need the wishful thinking. Yeah. You need that mentality of like, it's a brick wall, my head is harder than that. Yeah. If you don't have it, you're never going to be a very good athlete. I've done shit where I was like, oh my God, the number of things that could have gone wrong on this. You need that mentality. But then what that means is we need coaches that are willing to stop their athletes an inch away from the brick wall saying no.
Yeah. So to make sure we finish this part
yes.
out too. So we've gone through the structure stuff and we move up the next step.
We move
here.
up to stabilization, which is the other part of the S pyramid. Stabilization. So then we can start. So you have your internal torque and everything. What we can start looking at, for example, because basically you will be ready to snatch and to get your PR here. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to climb the entire pyramid first, right? Stabilization now. Let's see, for example, left versus right. Do you snatch and you start to shift? Because you shift a little bit, and I've seen some Olympic champions that survive CJ Cummings. You see how much he shifts to the right? That's why I think he switched to squat jerks, because that shoulder is probably not happy. Yeah. All right, so structurally, it's strong as shit, right? But you can tell the stabilization is starting to be a problem. That shift to the right, how long before at those kinds of weight, he starts breaking you? You see Klokov going to the right, that's because he saved a 200 kilo snatch at home. And the shoulder has never been the same ever since. I think he was like in 99 or something like that. So he's have it his entire career. Or like 201. Like he has it for over 15 years. And so that shift to the right eventually is going to get us back to where we started, which is hurt. Right? All right. So why you're shifting? Right? Is it left versus right? Is it external torque giving up on one side? Is your right versus as strong as your left or vice versa? Yeah. And all the tests can come toward that to see, can you stabilize the weight properly? That means you catch your weight at the bottom, you start shifting, you are not stabilizing the weight. Yeah, the bar is like, by the way, is the bar like this?
Yeah.
First of all, let's start with that. If maybe you can catch it and stand up like that, but you're not stabilizing the weight properly because you're all over the place. And then you go this way, you go that way and that way. Are you doing the Saturday Night Fever snatch favorite? Fan favorite? So maybe structurally you can take it for now anyway, because I don't think a structure can take a snatch down like that anyway. But the problem is stabilization. You come here, and the second you need to stabilize, starts to go over the place. So maybe structurally you're strong, but there's a left versus right now. That becomes a problem. Okay, so let's fix that, right? Let's test the left versus the right. We have a number of ways to do this, right? Unilateral work, bipolar training, all that stuff will allow us to see where we are at. And then where are you now? What do we need to work on? Let's do that. How far do I let you snatch? probably at that moment where you start to shift, like basically anything that I deem unsafe, like at some point, like the shift puts so much weight on the shoulder, we're gonna have to stop you short, otherwise you'll get hurt. And then we go backwards, right? That's the thing too. And again, if that shift makes the next day you're like this, that counts as hurt.
Yeah.
We need to back you off, we need to fix it. If you don't, if you have you have the Worlds or the Olympics a month from now, fuck it,
Yeah.
right? For everybody else, we need to fix it.
So we just kind of walked through this exercise here with the idea of coming back from rehab, right?
Yeah.
But let's look at it just as I can currently, I don't know, let's just make up a number. I can currently snatch 100 kilos, and I want to be able to snatch 120 kilos.
Okay.
Right.
So let's say
how
110.
do we game?
We're
plan
not
this
doing
work?
20 kilos. Jump on your snatch.
God damn it.
Let's do.
Well, not with that attitude.
No.
We're not.
Yeah, exactly. We had 100. Let's do 105.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah, no. You're a pussy. You're gonna go 105 instead of
Openers.
120. Sure. Like let's go 20% increase on your PR. I mean, it's there. I need at least. Basically, I'm gonna make sure your structure can take the weight. That means that you are at. Because I want at least your snatch overhead for 20 meters, right? So right now you had 100 kilo overhead for 20 meters, all right? Let's get you to 105, 110. Okay. Let's say 110 kilos, a little bit over that, so that I know that your structure...
Nobody ever had too much structure.
Yes, exactly, right? So I'm gonna build a structure a bit, let's say 110 kilo for 20 meters. You're not there, okay, then your 10 kilos is here, we're gonna build a structure first. And stabilization, left versus right? So let's say, same idea, overhead barbell carry, right? So one arm, and that left arm goes all over the fucking place. Like you're here, and then you have to do this, all right? So I'm gonna define whatever weight that is, and the second I add 2 kilos, you start to do that again, okay? Well, I'm gonna build whatever that weight is for 100 kilo snatch, let's say let's say 50 kilo, whatever, overhead, and you start to carry, and then if I see this, I'm like, no, we need to build 10 kilos more per arm or 5 kilos, whatever it is, I'm gonna decide the numbers. Basically, let's say 5 kilos more on the one arm stuff. And then basically there, the last part is the specialization, right? Why did I call it specialization? Because I needed a word that starts with S. So instead, S pyramid. I'm a hipster. So what could that be? For example, for a very good exercise I always liked, is basically an Anderson squat. So what I do is I take the yoke, I put it at a certain height, right? And you're gonna get under, and then you're gonna lift the weight. You know what I mean?
It's like
and
an overhead Anderson squat.
Yeah, it's an overhead Anderson squat,
yeah.
basically. And that's what the Chinese do that a lot off of blocks.
Yeah.
I like to do it with yoke. And then if you can do it, I'll put the yoke one lower and one lower and one lower until you are the bottom position and you can do your snatch. And I'll build your strength up here based on what is it that I was trying to fix out of the snatch. And that would be structure, stabilization, specialization work on the snatch with all the assistance work that comes into it, because I'll make you do a lot of rope pulls. Why? Because it's a lot of unilateral training, so bipolar training, because you're going left
And
versus
obviously,
right.
in building the whole thing down here, there'll be things for the lower body and all that other stuff.
Right,
It's a big picture.
I'm just using the overhead position in
Yep.
that case for that, but there'll be basically structure, stabilization, and then specialization. And once we get all this there, then when you go back to snatching, you should have raised your potential toward doing a 1-0 snatch kilos that won't go, ow.
So at this point, once everything is here,
Go fuck yourself up.
then you're going to let me do whatever I got to do to get one.
Go fuck yourself up.
right,
Like
cool.
tell your coach it's on party,
'cause then
go
you've
get
done
the
your-
whiskey
you've
and just go. And then once you get hurt, you'll blame me.
So you've done your work.
Basically, right? So, but that very important aspect of this, right? Because if you look, the physios are here and your coach is there, right? And that's what I saw with most injuries was that gap. And I was like, all right, so I believe like that is what is most needed in the fitness industry is filling that gap. Because again, like we look at the shiny stuff, which is PRs, which means I'm deadlifting this much, and that's Instagram for you, and I got a six-pack and everything, but that's not where life is. Life is, can you raise your shoulder and pick up your kid and throw it in the air and hopefully catch it? Can you grab your kid and can you play with your kid? Can you go play soccer with your friends on weekend? Can you go dancing and not be ruined? Can you run after the bus and not pull your hammy? Not you, other people.
Can I clip my toenails without asking my wife to do it?
Can you, you know,
Can I put my own shoes on?
hey, my This is where most people are. But by the way, even top athletes, they still need to do that. Like, I guess that's a longer conversation where they say, like, I'll sacrifice anything for my sport. But I'm like, then you're young. Don't get me wrong, I was that stupid. But at some point, you're not going to be 21 anymore. And I sound very old when I say that. But I'm not done. I'm 45. I'm not done. I started competing in pool again, and I fully intend to go pro. I want to still I still train every day. I still intend to progress on my one-arm snatch, onto my overhead yoke carries. I'm not done. I just realize now that to continue, I can't wake up every day fucked up.
Yeah.
I've done it, jiu-jitsu, MMA, all that stuff, and you take pride in it, right? Which you should to a degree, because the amount of pain that you can take is a testament to how much you want it. But there's a moment you also have to realize that it stops you from thinking as to what do I need to get better? And it's probably not being beat to shit every day. Like the number of MMA guys that you realize toward the end of their career say, I should never have sparred 3 times a week. I should have sparred once a week. Because I created so much damage that I never reached the potential, my potential. You see all of them say it at the end. At the time, they were like, fuck it, like the more I spar, the better I am. It was a badge of honor to suffer. The problem with that suffering is like it makes you tough, okay, maybe, but it also stops you from reaching your own potential because you're beat to shit all the time. And the worst part is you get used to it. So now you do more and more damage and you never reach your potential because you're never there, because you never took the time to, and the understanding to actually be good at something. And being good at something means mastering the simple stuff. You can't master anything if you beat to shit constantly. You just compensating left and right for this or that, or you see that people considering going between their shoulder and their knee, and then this, and then they wrap, and then they do this, and then they do Kelly Starrett, and then do this, because they're constantly beat up.
And I think that's important, like you mentioned, is these things here, structure, stabilization, specialization. That is the simple stuff. Like we're not going to.
That is a mastery.
Like you and I aren't going to come in, and we're not going to say that we are the best people to teach you how to snatch. Not even close.
I don't snatch. I have no idea how to. I have friends that can teach you how to snatch. I can't do it because that's not. But that's not also what I do. Nor is it what I want to do, because that's not where I saw the greatest need. 99% of people don't need to snatch. You know when you need to snatch? If you're going to compete with a barbell.
Yeah.
I can do the exact same thing with a sandbag by making you toss it over a bar. I remove all the skill and the dangerous part, and I still get you an aggressive triple extension. So I don't need anybody to snatch. If what you want is health, I don't need you to snatch. You want an aggressive triple extension. Okay, I'll do it with a sandbag.
But if you wanted to snatch, you still
can't
skip these steps.
Let's go into that conversation. You want to snatch, okay, but how well can you snatch if you're constantly in pain? If your shoulder is like this, if you need to be on 800 milligrams of ibuprofen a day to snatch, how well do you think you're going to reach your potential like that? That's the question I would ask, and that's the question I asked before, because I had friends coming to my gym, and they would literally start the training session like this, with 800 grams of ibuprofen a day just to train. I was like, are you fucking insane? But again, let's look at it from even a reasonable perspective, like a true mastery of anything. Do you really think that you will last long enough to master anything? And the answer is no. Then what is the intent? That's really what my question is to most people. What is your intent in what you do? You want to master the snatch? Okay. You beat to shit every day. Do you think you can master anything doing that? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so what is the intent in all this? Their action never match their intent.
Yeah.
And that's what I get baffled like this, because if you look at what I do with StrongFit, and this is what I do with this, is I want to provide a place where people can find themselves, find their colors. I think my gift in life is that I'm finding ways for people to express themselves. Not to me, or just to themselves, to find who they are. I think that's really what I do, is I allow people to find who they are, right? And what baffles me, and it's something to watch, is I create a place for people to find who they are, and then I watch them set their own limitations as to that, and then I watch them take action that do not fit their intent. And that's where all this came from, was to basically create figures like this as to tell people, look, make sure you cover this so before we go there. So at least to give them a plan forward. Because when the issue is I want to snatch, you end up with people that just do that, right? And if they say they're doing that, it's an afterthought. It's like, yeah, okay. So, but the problem with that is if you don't take it as seriously as you should take it, 6 weeks from now, it'll be on the back burner and you're like, whoops, I forgot. Yeah. Oh, right. It's amazing how we can forget to do the stuff that we have to do. Like, and it not even like, oh yeah, fuck, I left the gym, I didn't do that. Oh, that's so weird. Yeah, I know. It's so strange, right? We've all done it, by the way. So it's so important to be able to, you have to put that the intent, I think, is to be healthy enough to become great at anything. But that means that you're gonna have to be able to master the simple stuff, and that's what this is, so that you can do the fancy stuff. But this fancy stuff comes out of mastery of the simple things. There's just no way. Master the basics. It's the simple stuff, you have to master that. You can't do the fancy stuff after. So snatching is fancy. It comes out of being strong at all those things. And unfortunately, you see too many programs that are just go snatch more.
Yeah.
Right? And so the gap to me in the fitness industry is that kind of messy, weird space between performance on a specific movement and your incapacity to just plain move. And how do we go from one to the next? That's that messy part that is not confetti based because you don't have the PR snatch, but it's not as simple as the doctor telling you to do that shit. Once a week or twice a week, you go to him and he just takes your arm and you do this. That's very simple. You don't have to think, right? And then you get that massive PR, which is where the confettis are. So you know exactly why your intent is there, is to have the entire world and the girls look at you and go, oh my God, you're so great. By the way, when you lift heavy, you don't get the girls. That's complete bullshit. For the youngsters out there, just know you only get dudes going like, yeah, all the girls, they don't give a shit. And so one side is the confettis, which is very easy to know. You have all the dudes going like, fuck her. You're like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, you have doctors saying, do 3 sets of 5. The messy part is in between, where you have to find tension, when you have to feel what your body is doing. That's where the messy part is. And the problem is, you know who the only person who can go through those 2 points is you.
Yeah.
There's no one telling you how to do it, is you have to find tension for yourself. And that's where the hard part is.
And that's the basis of what we with StrongFit, really that's it, is you have to find these things. We present them to you, the simple work in between, and you then have to do
that's
the work.
The difference is we are willing to go into that uncomfortable spot that is not confetti-based, that is not shiny, that is very hard to explain on Instagram, that doesn't make you want to do it necessarily. Those are the, it's not necessarily evil, but those are the ugly truths that you need to hear. Those are the non-fancy movement you need to do. And by the way, to me, is if you have the correct intent, it shouldn't be a problem. Because again, mastery is done in the simple things. The stuff that everybody else watch me practice, they probably think it's boring. But once I can pocket the object ball, control the cue ball to do like a fancy route and stop on a piece of paper that big, guys are like, oh, snap. Yeah, but you didn't see the hours of work, center ball doing that to understand all angles before I can do that. Because that's the fancy stuff. It's the top of the pyramid. What you didn't see is the structural work that I did with center balls, ball after ball after ball for 2.5 hours. That's where the guys were like, I'm not doing that.
So I think the moral of the story to wrap up today is we need reps, but with the basics.
You need
really
more,
the simple
but again,
stuff.
like you need reps with intent, right? You need to understand that it's not just doing the movement. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Yeah. And you do to do the reps with the right intent, with trying to find out about yourself. How do you do the exercise? Not me. Yeah. How do you do it? Like, because we're gonna have different forms, different limbs, whatever. So how do you do the exercise? And do you understand my intent when I'm asking you to do something? And can you get after that? When I say you need to feel those muscles, can you do that? Right? So it's not enough to do an exercise. You have to do it with the correct intent. That's where all this is do you understand intent and can you apply it to what you do? If you can master the simple things in a correct intent, you will go so far. And that's where really the secret is. But that is the part where they don't teach you that one in school. It's not as simple as a program with 85% written on it. That's the hard part. That's the human part that people are less willing to go into. And coaches are less willing to get their people into, because that's where the messy, the hard stuff is on the human side. And it's much easier to shove it aside, saying it's your problem, you fix it. No, because that's where most of the problems happen, is that messy human side. So we need people to step up and go, okay, let's take care of that. And that's what we try to do.
So let's do that.
Let's do that.
Awesome. See you next
See
week.
you guys.
Groovy.
Groovy. I like it. That was cool.